The Andrews government has since become adept at obfuscation. 2 weeks ago, it released a damning report into deaths caused by ambulance delays on a Saturday morning before a major AFL final. Now it's doing it again with 2 more potentially damning reports. Yesterday, The Age reported that, quote, 2 independent reviews into Victoria's COVID rules that have been delayed for months will not be made public before the state heads to the polls, unquote. Health Minister Mary Ann Thomas, who received the reports last week, says she wants to read them carefully before tabling them, which means the public won't see them until after the election. If ever there was a reason to turf out a government, hiding an investigation into a disastrous and destructive 2-year lockdown would be it. But that isn't stopping the Andrews government from introducing more harsh restrictions on citizens, this time regarding where they can go in national parks. Stray off a designated path and you could, under these proposed rules, be fined $924. Similar penalties apply for swimming or rock climbing without a permit. Whether these rules will protect the environment, as they are claimed to do, is debatable. What is much clearer, though, is the government's contempt for ordinary people who can't even be trusted to go bushwalking without causing irreparable damage. Which brings me to the destruction of workplace culture at Ambulance Victoria. The government recently decided the service was promoting the, quote, stereotype of paramedics as white, male, of able body and mind, confident, stoic, and the family breadwinner, unquote. It hired 6 new diversity officers to implement a change to this culture. Last week, I received an email from a Victoria ambulance officer with 30 years' experience who said new staff now ridicule and bully him for being white and middle-aged. He said, quote, this aspect of workplace culture at Ambulance Victoria is problematic for many respected and incredibly experienced staff. He says new staff with a woke agenda are making vexatious allegations against long-term managers like himself. His email is disturbing because it confirms the Andrews government's plan to change the culture, but in the end it's not for the better. My correspondent forlornly warned that these changes to the culture at Ambulance Victoria were, quote, putting the community at great risk, unquote. And to cap it all off, the state's corruption watchdog released a report in July describing widespread malfeasance in the Labor government. Victorian Ombudsman Deborah Glass said, quote, the report illustrates a catalogue of unethical behaviour ranging from the hiring of unqualified people into publicly funded roles, using those roles to support factional work, nepotism, forging signatures, bullying, and attempts to interfere with the government grants process, unquote. Andrews, who wasn't personally implicated, admitted the Labor government had committed, quote, absolutely disgraceful behaviour, unquote. How can a government with such an appalling record of poor governance, oppressing its citizens and even endangering people's lives, rate anything above single figures in the polls? Thankfully, the government's poll results are heading south. We can only hope that slide, come election day, turns into a majority of voters waiting on their verandas with baseball bats.